Hi everybody, I'm Jamie Ruthenberg and you're watching another episode of Jamie's Book in a Bite. Well, as of yesterday, it's finally spring. And I waited for this time period to talk about this particular book we're going to focus on today, which is Miles and the Wren House Toad. Because the setting is an early spring setting and the artwork is very, very beautiful and representative of spring. So I thought in celebration of spring, we'd talk about this book. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move into the kitchen and make what Miles and his mother and his friends make in the story, which is carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. And this is an excellent recipe. It's beautiful. Oh, and don't forget to check out the bloopers at the end. They're always pretty fun. I get pretty slap happy. So you can purchase Miles and the Wren House Toad, and actually any of the other books that I've talked about so far at JamieRuthenberg.com. And you know what you also can purchase there that I haven't yet talked about, and it dawned on me this morning? You can also purchase Miles, plush Miles. He's washable, you can take his clothes off, wash them, put other clothes on him. He's super, super soft. The kids really love him. And actually so do I very much. And he's also baby safe. Everything's sewn, there's no plastic or anything like that. So I know a little girl who actually puts other clothes on him and puts this little backpack on him, and it's very fun. I love him. Miles and the Wren House Toad is actually the second book in the series. It came out in 2016. You don't have to, like I've said before, you don't have to read them in any particular order. It's just, it happens to be the second book. And it's really about something based on an actual occurrence that happened about 12 years ago when my daughter was, I think she was about 5 at the time. So she's 17 now. It was about 12 years ago. And I discovered a toad living in the birdhouse on my property. And actually I called my daughter over to see him, and she walked right up and she went right into his face and looked at him and said, "His name is Jack," as if somehow he just told her this. He lived in that house for 3 years. One summer he actually had a roommate. This birdhouse had a little deck and they'd lay out in the sun and watch me prune my roses. It was hilarious. And I never thought in a million years that 12 years later I'd be talking about this in a book that I wrote. I couldn't have made something up, to me, more interesting than that. And I actually talk about this in the back of the book. So this is a special story to me. And really, it's about Miles discovering a toad living in the birdhouse on his property, just like I did. And the story kind of goes from there, and Chip the squirrel, from the Sneaky Squirrels, if you remember, he comes over and sees Jack in the birdhouse and giggles, thinks this is funny. And the problem is that it actually hurts Jack's feelings. So he didn't think before he acted. So Miles helps Jack write a short story about how he ended up in the birdhouse. And actually it was because he needed shelter and safety. And so when Chip actually reads the story, he feels badly about the fact that he hurt his feelings, and he apologizes, and he really means it when he apologizes, and they become very good friends. So in the end, the story is really about, you know, forgiveness and thinking before acting, and also seeking to understand people and standing in other people's shoes, and empathy. Helping others in need is a big one. Miles is always helping someone, just like he does with Jack and Chip and everyone involved. And it's about friendship and also giving to others and generosity. So, and those themes kind of overlap in a lot of the other stories. You can actually reference the previous episodes if you really want to know more about all the different educational aspects. In this particular book, Miles and the Wren House Toad, as I said, he writes a short story with Jack. And that's a wonderful element. You can read the story with the children in your class or your own children in your home and talk about short story elements and that particular genre. And again, as I've said before, I do all of the artwork with pencil and watercolor paint, and I really love the artwork in this particular story. It's that early spring feeling to it when there's just little leaves all kind of salt and peppered throughout the branches of the trees and so forth. So it's really worth looking at. And the early spring setting is actually why Miles and his mother make the carrot cake with cream cheese frosting, which we are going to do today, and it's on the back cover. As all of the books do have a recipe of whatever was made in the book on the back cover, and we are going to make this today. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen pictures of this cake actually, and I've made it a couple different ways. In fact, when Miles and the Wren House Toad actually was released, I made a large sheet cake of small bites of this cake for everyone who came to the very first book signing. So that was really fun, and the cakes were really adorable. So today we're making the real deal, a double layer carrot cake with luscious cream cheese frosting. Come with me. Okay, so here we are back in the kitchen, and we are going to make this cake. Now preheat your oven to 350 degrees and spray the inside of either an 8-inch or 9-inch baking pan, 2 of them actually, with non-stick baking spray that has flour in it. It's non-stick baking spray that's for baking. This stuff changed my life. I think it's the best invention in the 20th century. That and, you know, online banking. Spray the inside real good on both of them. Now in this recipe, I usually put nuts. I usually actually put either walnuts or pecans. Pecans are really nice in it. You could put a half a cup of chopped pecans or walnuts. I'm leaving them out though because a lot of children tend to have nut allergies, so I thought I might as well just play it safe. So you add them if you want. If not, keep them out. What's really wonderful about this recipe is that it's extremely easy, like some of the other ones, like the brownies that I did. At least with the cake portion, you're just mixing this by hand with a big spoon or spatula or whisk. So it's super easy that way. And now we're actually going to start with the first set of ingredients. And we start with 1 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup lightly packed, or firmly packed, I should say, light brown sugar, 1 whole cup vegetable oil, 3 large eggs, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. 2. And if you get a little more in there, that's fine. So once you've blended well the egg and sugar mixture, that's when you add your dry ingredients, which is 1 whole cup of all-purpose flour. I use unbleached. And then you add another whole cup of white whole wheat flour. A lot of people like white whole wheat flour because it has the benefits of whole wheat, but it also is milder if you don't really care for the taste of a whole wheat flour. So with the flours, you also add in a whole tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon nutmeg, and I freshly grate the nutmeg. It's extremely important to freshly grate it. I have one of these little contraptions that I use to grate it with, and it just kind of fits right in there. They're online. I'll put the link down below with the rest of the information under the video, no problem. And then also a teaspoon baking soda and a teaspoon of salt. So once the dry and wet ingredients are together, that's when you add all the fun carrots and apples and so forth. So I put 2.5 cups of shredded carrots, and I use what I call my handy dandy food processor. There's also 1 apple that you shred up in your food processor. Make sure you don't process it too long because it will become applesauce, and we're looking for more like a shredded apple. And then 1/2 cup of raisins and 1/2 cup of sweetened shredded coconut. The shredded coconut is really nice because it adds this kind of nice sweetness and texture to it. I really like it. What I would do is have all my shredded vegetables and fruits on a big piece of wax paper or parchment paper, and then you kind of just lift it up and let it all go right into your batter and mix well. So now it's time that it's all nice and mixed, and make sure you mix it really well for 1 good minute when all the fruit is in the batter. And now it's time to fill your 2 baking pans. Make sure you fill them evenly so that they bake evenly. You don't want one to be super thick and another to be super thin. This batter smells so good. What I love about carrot cake is it's a springtime cake, but at the same time it has all those warm spices in it that are known to be kind of fall-like. I just want to eat cinnamon and nutmeg all year round, seriously. Okay, the pans are filled. I usually give them a little tap. I usually do this with every cake. Get some of the air bubbles out, makes them nice and even Steven. So these are 8-inch rounds, so I'm going to bake these at about 35 to 40 minutes. If these were 9-inch, I would bake for 30 to 35 minutes. And you bake until a cake tester comes out clean. So here we go. So the cakes are actually done. They baked for about 42 minutes, and it took a little knife and popped it into the center and it came out clean, so they're ready. I let them rest in the pan for about 20 minutes, and then I pop them out. Usually you put them right on a rack. I don't have my rack today, so I just put them on aluminum foil to let them cool for the rest of the time. Now, this is the cool part. I have a trick. And I've never heard anyone say they did this before, and it was kind of a happy accident. I rarely ever actually have time to both bake the cakes and then decorate them in the same day because it's kind of time consuming. So what I do, I came across this idea one day just because I didn't have the time, is I let them cool and then I wrap them in plastic wrap and put them in a freezer bag and pop them in the freezer until the point where, like in a day or two, I can decorate them. And this way the cakes stay super fresh. And the other bonus to this that I really found, another happy accident, is that when I frost the cakes are so cold because they're in the process of defrosting, that the icing or the frosting sets extremely well. It doesn't move around. Have you ever frosted a cake and it's warm and all of a sudden everything gets gooey and it's like sliding off? It's not a fun experience. So in this case, the cakes are so cold that everything sets right away right when you put it on there, and it's fantastic. I love this trick. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm actually going to wrap these up, put them in the freezer, and then tomorrow I will bring them out and I'm going to actually frost them with you and show you how I frost and decorate. It's a cream cheese frosting too. It's so good. I'm going to show you how I frost and then decorate in a kind of an ornate, pretty way, and I think you'll really like it. Okay, here we go. They're all ready for the freezer. And through the magic of video, even though I'm going to take them out of the freezer tomorrow morning and decorate them here with you, you will see me in about 2 seconds. See you soon. Well, I'm back. It's the next day, the magic of video, and it's time to frost and decorate the cakes. I have the cakes defrosting, and I'll show you that in one moment, but first we have to make the frosting. And what I have in my standing mixer here are 2 8-ounce blocks of softened cream cheese and also 2 sticks of unsalted butter, also softened. And remember, you really should use unsalted because you don't want to have a salty frosting, really. And you know what I usually do? To make things soften, instead of letting them sit out, which I usually don't like to do, I zap them for 30 seconds in the microwave, and it just softens them just like that. So it's very, very quick and easy. So what we're going to do is actually add to the cream cheese and the butter before we mix it 4 teaspoons of milk, and 4 teaspoons, yes, 4 teaspoons of vanilla. It's very flavorful. Don't be afraid of vanilla. Vanilla is so wonderful. So what I'm going to do is whip this up until extremely smooth. And that'll take just a second. If everything's room temperature, it should take no time at all. Okay, so now that everything is nice and creamy and smooth, we're going to add 5½ cups of powdered sugar to the mix. Okay, so now we're ready to frost the cake. I actually, to be honest with you, had to add about a cup and a half more of powdered sugar to this because it was very loose today. And that happens sometimes, and some days it's a little stiffer. It depends on how humid and so forth. So I wanted it to be a little more, have more body to it, so I added about a cup more of the powdered sugar, and now I like how it is because it has to hold its shape because we're going to be using it to decorate as well. And I also take pieces of wax paper, this is my little trick, and set it under the side, 4 sides of the cake, slightly under it a little bit, to catch all the little fun stuff that falls as you're decorating. So I set the first cake right in the middle of the platter and put a nice amount of frosting there and spread it, and then I put the second piece right on top of that one, and I actually, the bottom side of that second layer is upward because it's flatter and it's a nice flat surface, especially for decorating. So now we're going to continue frosting by putting a good amount of frosting on the top layer, and then I usually frost the top and then kind of move to the sides. So that's what we're going to do with my trusty offset large spatula. I love this tool and I use it for all like smooth surfaces when frosting. I know there are a lot of little tools and so forth. I find this thing can do just as good of a job when I want a nice smooth surface on my cake. So that's what we're going to do, is frost the top and move forward. And I will tell you, to have partially frozen cakes while you do this is wonderful. So here we go. Okay, so now we have the nice white, beautiful frosting, delicious canvas for the decoration. And what I did is I basically took what was left of the frosting and put food coloring in a small portion of it for what will be the carrot at the decoration. I'll show you how I'll do this, into a piping bag with a number 10 piping tip. Now, I have a little trick, by the way. I, years ago, stopped using piping bags that you have to wash, and they're a pain in the butt. And I'll tell you what I actually do use are storage bags, actually freezer bags, because they're even more sturdy. I love to use freezer bags because when you're done, you just take out, squirt out what was left of the frosting if there is any, and just toss it out. You don't have to deal with all that washing. So what I basically do is I cut the tip of the freezer bag, and then I put the attachment underneath that the tip attaches to, and then screw on the other top to the whole set for the tip. And this will be for the carrot. The number 10 tip will be for the carrot. I also set them in glasses so that they're kind of nice and not, leaking all over the counter. The green accents on the cake are actually done with, I don't know. Oh man, I forgot to look. Hold the phone. I totally forgot to look. There it is, 864. 864, wow. But it's a great tip. I love using it with the larger attachments so that it works well. And this is going to make a very cool decoration, and I'll show you. So I start with the green border. I do like this pretty green border, and I'll show you how I do it. Thinking I want to add some candy coated chocolate eggs because it is early spring. And then I'm going to take the orange and actually make the carrot by doing a little swirly motion back and forth. It's kind of a whimsical carrot. I think it's very cute. And then what's really cute, I think, is to use real parsley as the greenery on the carrot. It looks almost identical, it's edible, and I just think it's really beautiful. So the cake is beautiful, and I can't wait to cut into this, so take a look at it. Well, hi everybody. Look at this beautiful cake. I couldn't cut into this before sitting down and talking to you for a last time because it's so pretty. I don't know if I can cut into this, but I have to. But look at this cake, isn't it beautiful? In fact, look. It's so pretty. And it's amazing how beautiful candy can be as decorations on a cake because they're perfectly shaped, beautiful colors. I even used those round melting chocolates that you buy in cake decorating stores and so forth, and all the different colors they have. I even used those as balloons on a cake and then like drew little string from the balloons, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. So like all the candy coated chocolates and jelly beans and all those kinds of things, they're really great and they're just perfect little decorations. You could do more to the cake, but I think sometimes the art of decorating anything is to know when to stop. In this case, I think it was perfect just like this. You don't want to go too crazy and look like a clown threw up on it or something. You want it to look beautiful and appealing to the eye. Okay, everybody, so it's time to cut into this beautiful beast. What I might do is just cut on the top so we can, or I can look at it for a little longer. Going in. Nice. That's gorgeousness on a plate. Runaway chocolate. Okay, the moment of truth here, people. Going in. This cake smells, I mean, it's like the whole room is so fragrant with this cake. I can't wait. Here we go. Wow, I need another bite. That's so good. It is so good. And again, it's really, quite frankly, it's really another simple cake. It's not all that difficult to make this. In fact, half of it doesn't even use a mixer. Try this cake. It's spring. Yesterday was the first day of spring, actually 2 days ago now, was the first day of spring, and it's time for this. Make this for your kids and they won't even know that there's healthy things in it. So everyone, the recipe is below. Just hit show more and it'll show all the rest of the information. And remember, you can purchase Miles and the Wren House Toad and all the other Miles books and plush Miles on JamieRuthenberg.com. And also remember to hit that subscribe button. So thanks for hanging with me, everyone, and until next time, mwah. I'm going in for more. Just saying. Take 4. The page. My cheat sheet. Brown sugar, firmly packed. And then we add 1 cup. I'm sorry. And we add 1/2 cup. First cake right in the middle of the plat. Plat. Delicious, beautiful canvas of the frosting of the. So everybody, the video. So thanks for hanging with me, everyone. So